Hello, my fellow seekers. Welcome to Into the Work, therapy for empaths, seekers, and the intuitively driven, where you have front row seats to therapy sessions and expert interviews that will help you define the important work that you're here to do. So I guess you actually have something better than front row seats. You practically have a seat on my couch. That's right, you will have unrestricted access to actual sessions with real people, exploring real life issues. You will continue to be inspired by powerful conversations with experts and healers that might just share exactly what it is that you need to hear to get unstuck. I am Michelle Pauverman. I am a recovering people pleaser and former anxiety-driven empath, turned now mostly grounded psychotherapist and intuitive coach. I have been helping people for almost 20 years manage their limiting beliefs and anxiety to finally stop the self-sabotage and step into their gifts. I created this podcast, Into the Work, to give you a place to learn more about yourself and give you actionable strategies to finally move those roadblocks holding you back so you can go for what you want. Above all else, my hope is that this podcast is a catalyst for your awakening. If you're listening, you've already taken a step towards getting off of autopilot, and our next steps together will be taken episode by episode, waking you up to the possibilities, the new ways of thinking and being, so that you can stretch into that next level of your story. The spark has already been lit, and my friend, this is a journey from spark to brilliance. So together, let's light a fire. Hello, my fellow empaths and seekers. Today, I am talking with someone special. I am talking with Debra C. Smith, and Deborah is a holistic business coach, online marketing consultant, and crafty creative at Luminous Creative Solutions, the business she created to support mission-driven and purpose-aligned women, entrepreneurs, and small business owners with coaching programs that incorporate growth strategy and atomic healthy habits. Deborah is also the host of an awesome podcast. Her podcast is Girl Makes Fire, where she provides practical tools and solutions for the everyday challenges of being a creative, spiritual entrepreneur living in this material world. Sound like anybody you know? Maybe that's you. Maybe it's somebody else you know. I say share the wealth and tune in because I have learned that Deborah's a bit of a unicorn. She's a holistic business coach in all senses of the word holistic. So she has been an inspiring health advocate for over 20 years working in the health and wellness industry, while also helping women step into their calling and build businesses they love. She has a vast wealth of knowledge, and you don't want to miss her perspective on the connection between the food you eat and the success you're trying to have in any of the purpose-driven endeavors that you're taking on, business or otherwise. So stay tuned to be open to some new ways of thinking as an empath and sensitive person, how you could be doing things different to feel so much better. Even if you don't have a business and that's not where you're at this moment, this is a really important podcast to listen to in terms of how you see food, how your body experiences food, and things you need to know in order to feel better regardless. So let's go ahead and get started. Hi, Deborah. I'm so excited to talk to you today. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited because you do something very unique. And so I'm really excited to share you with our listeners because I'm not really in my journey taken a look at the connection between my nutrition and my success in all of the endeavors. I mean, business and everything else. And I just think there's a disconnect there. It really is a disconnect for a lot of us that the base of how we're going to perform in life is through nutrition.
Yeah.
So you're sort of like this like little magical, I thought of this term, like you're like a functional business coach because you're like, you look at the whole person and you go into it like, we're going to get down to your nutrition. We're going to get down to your well-being. So let's talk about what got you here. Let's do a quick blurb on your story so we can, because it is interesting. I'd like to have you share that with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. And thanks for having this conversation about looking at the whole person, right?
Yeah.
I think it is really, I mean, in a nutshell, I really think it all boils down to energy. It's all about exchanges of energy. And then there are patterns that form around exchanges of energy. And so a whole life, a whole lived experience is a series of exchanges of energy. And we tend to compartmentalize those things. So yeah, I think we do. We totally disconnect, what we put into our physical body, the thing carrying around our soul, the thing carrying around our patterned energy. We just disconnect putting things into that body from the result that we're getting.
And I feel like we tend to make them into have-tos and shoulds. So that's the compartmentalization. Oh, I should be doing that. It's this separate thing from what I'm doing that I should be doing and I'm not doing. And then, we get into the game. But
so I have, the intersection between business and creativity and the world of entrepreneurship and the role that I have played as a holistic health coach and nutrition coach is, I think in a nutshell, I was working in New York City as a producer for arts organizations. I was in the communications and marketing branding track, doing a lot of event production as a way to promote smaller arts organizations in the city. Really passionate about the arts. I'm a musician and I have a background in dance. And I just was putting all this energy to work to help champion and do communication and marketing for arts organizations. And it was just so ironic. I was so run down. I was so burnt out.
Yeah.
And I think I was like my late 20s. I hit a wall physically. I was unwell. And I was invited to this yoga class. At that yoga class, so I accepted. I was like, I guess I should try this. At that class, I met a woman who I got talking with about whatever, and that led to an invitation to a holistic health coaching webinar thing that was like in person in New York City. That I went to that, and sitting in that room that day, it became crystal clear to me I was missing information. I just felt like this door was open and there was this room full of all these people who knew all this stuff about health and wellness that I had just never been taught. And we don't get taught in undergrad. We don't get taught unless you have parents who are putting balanced nutrition on your table growing up and growing food and really bringing it in front of your face. Most Americans are not exposed to the power of what is in our food, whether it be for good or for bad. So I enrolled in health coaching school the next year. And 1 year after that, I opened my first business with a partner. And it's interesting because we both wanted to be health coaches, but we felt very green and inexperienced and kind of knew that we needed some time, around the ideas and the concepts and practicing. So we, instead of doing what would have been much easier and becoming health coaches, we built a mobile juice bar.
That is so cool.
And the idea was just, what if we took power of something really simple, really fresh, a green smoothie, a green juice, and we brought it to the street level instead of it being this bougie, fancy, expensive health wellness shop that you have to identify with to open the door and walk through and spend your $7, $8, $9 on something that you don't really know anything about. And it's green. We were like, well, what if we were just out there on the street like the ice cream shop? And you can't miss us because we're brightly colored. We had a graffiti artist spray paint our truck.
Oh, that's so cool.
Our first year in business, we just used to crank reggae out of the top of this truck. We converted an old postal truck into a juice bar.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. That's amazing.
I ran that business for 14 years. And in tandem with that, I was also hosting group coaching programs and holistic nutrition programs and teaching people basic nuts and bolts about nutrition. Stuff that I never learned that totally transformed my life. Like I went from feeling really sick, down and out, and overweight, dry skin, bloated all the time, also moody and not happy. In my late 20s to by 5 years later, practicing these just really simple daily nutrition practices and also being in and around that, the juice bar, I felt like a different person. And so it was just to me, how could I not want to share that with the whole world? And in the doing of, running that business, I was the operations director, the marketing director, the brand director. So I did all the partnership work with other companies and we did a lot of film and television catering, access to some really amazing people and places in New York City, a lot of celebrity clients, like a lot of cool things over the years. I've got lots of great stories with that business. But all the while I was, building a community using things like the 3 tools of internet, email marketing, I built my own website. So I was doing all of this work. And in 2019, prompted mostly actually by a family health issue with my mom, we took a quick hiatus. I closed the service piece of that business down. Smiling angels on me, setting me up perfectly for not having to shut a full functioning business down when the pandemic hit. But in that year, I just took a step back and I really thought about what is the way I can be the most impactful. And there were all these women that I knew who had yoga practices, who were, massage therapists, who were coaches, who were doing craft services, like making things with their hand, and had zero experience using the internet. So I popped open a little quick support agency, I called it at the time. And I actually started just teaching for free. I would meet weekly with whoever wanted to come and just show them really basic stuff. How do you start an email list? How do you reach your community? What kind of messaging connects with people? What does it mean to build a personal brand? And that has developed since then. And currently, I'm combining those two long tracks of my life and helping women, solopreneurs mostly, to build sustainable, healthy, functioning businesses without sacrificing their health, without burning the candle at both ends, without hustle culture mindset, without low marketing, and just in a way that feels healthy. So we do actually work on meal plans. We talk about food, even though I'm technically their business coach. It definitely includes.
I love that so much. That's why I was like, you're like a functional kind of approach, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I just love that so much because I do think it's like a missing piece. And especially for us sensitive, empathic types, right? Like, I don't know if you know this. So, and just want to kind of say this out loud. And I know we're going to get into a whole bunch of other stuff around just building this abundant life this way. But, when we teach intuition, good intuition teachers, a lot of us start to really teach about nutrition as one of the steps in building an intuition. Because of the fact that a lack of nutrition, which is what most of us are at, even if we think we're eating well, we don't realize we're not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what we find is that when we're not eating well, there's actually a block in the body that keeps you from your intuition. And your vibration doesn't raise up until you've gotten better food in your body.
That's exactly right. And the reason to that is, and this is something I think that is missing from modern day American education, food is information for ourselves. Simply put.
Yes.
Food is information. We think of it as everything but that. We don't think of food as the fuel for ourselves and our vital organs, our brains. Our vibrational energy is resonating with the vibrational energy of the information we put into ourselves. So at a cellular level, it makes so much sense when you just tweak your thinking about food and realize, like, when I put something into my body, I am incorporating that vibrational energy into my cellular foundational tissue. And it's going to set everything else up, every metabolic function, every breath I take, if I can produce tears or not, how well I digest. Forget about, getting into the emotional layers of energy that surround the human life force, but we are literally consuming energy and information. But we are just conditioned to think of food as anything but. We think about it as entertainment, right? Something we deserved after working hard. It's punishment. It's a reward where it's got so much emotional attachment to it. It's a guilty pleasure. There's so many stories that we tell around food, and all of that is inherited by however food was first presented to us by our family structure. So we don't know anything about food except for that it sustains our life. And the only thing we know about it as young people is that whatever was put in front of us is what it is. So it's different that's the other thing. It's different for everyone. If you had access to, fresh, living enzyme, whole molecule, natural food your whole life, and you have this spectrum of A through Z vitamins in your tissues, in your cells, you have an advantage. You are at an advantage over the child who has nothing but, packaged or canned foods that have preservatives in them. And maybe or anyone who's got food scarcity issues and doesn't have access. Maybe they don't have a meal every, time there should be one, or when they feel hungry. All of those disparities in the story and the spectrum of how we consume food as humans puts us at different advantage points in how we produce anything, any thought.
And one of the things you pointed out to me that really I found intriguing too is that, what we put into our body, like our typical way of doing things is to go, 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 go. So when we're busy trying to produce this big thing in our life, right? Expand ourselves in the world. We're trying to build these businesses or do these things where we're becoming expansive. One of the things that's probably most common that you pointed out to me is that we are probably starving ourselves. We're probably forgetting about food. We don't have time for food. Food's the last thing that we're thinking of, or we're really trying to just like do the least, quickest, easiest thing that we can. Right. And it's not supporting us in what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. What happens is our executive function in our brain prioritizes whatever deadline or deliverable or client need, especially for empathic people pleasers. I've listened to several episodes of your podcast, which is fantastic. And I totally resonate. I mean, I feel like I'm a healing empath and people pleaser, but I definitely resonated with so many things that you share. And I do think those of us hardwired, and let's put it out there. I mean, many women, if not all women, we're just conditioned and socially conditioned to, be of service and please kind of the family, and our boss and our husbands and things like that. It's old energy, but it's there.
Yeah.
And so I do think we tend to fall into these patterns of behavior where we put at the top of the must complete list tasks and deliverables and whatever it is in our life that we owe to others, that we feel are under the pressure of, we prioritize other people's needs.
Yes.
And when that happens, we deplete our energy level. So we go throughout the day, we're just grinding away at that, whatever, if you're writing something that you have to send to somebody, if you have form you need to fill out and get to somebody, if you just are going through your day with these to-do list items and none of them are take a break, take 3 or 4 deep breaths, quiet my nervous system and my digestive system so I can prepare to receive information in the form of food, right? We don't slow down to eat, which means half the time we're not even getting a lot of the nutrients that we need absorbed into our system because we're eating in a condition of fight or flight and not actually able to carry that information throughout the body. Really quick, not at all high level science nugget that I think is helpful in this conversation is what happens when we eat food. And I think people we just don't think about this. We just literally don't consider it as our day goes on. But what happens when we eat food is as soon as food enters our mouth, our whole body, our executive function, our cerebral, function is to slow things down so that we can get that information, that food, those nutrients. And so we start to salivate. That salivation is immediately beginning to break down food. When we chew, the mandible of our jaw, that sends a signal to the central nervous system, release digestive enzymes in the saliva. Like the body is so high level.
So unbelievable. Yeah.
And so it sends messages to our enteric nervous system, which is a network of nerve cells that surround the stomach, and prepare to receive information, prepare to digest, right? And from there, the food goes through our esophagus, gets to the stomach, and you have the liver, the gallbladder, all of the digested organs go to work, releasing chemicals, breaking food down. And the blood surrounds our stomach. And its job is it's waiting there to carry this broken down information to all the different parts of the body, the long bones, the muscles, tissues, joints, repairing cells. We need the information. We need A through Z and all the minerals. And so almost everyone is deficient, right? We're just walking around deficient. The food that we eat is deficient. The soil is depleted. So even if you're just on your A game and you have your little check boxes and every single day you're like, did I get enough cruciferous vegetables? Did I get my dark leafy greens and my fruits and my veg? You can be following the high level nutrition guidelines and you're still probably dehydrated and slightly nutrient deficient in some way, shape, or form, because that's the reality of our food systems here in America. So even when we're doing our best and we're tracking it and we're planning it, we might not be getting enough of what we actually need to just be at a baseline for our bodies to do basic metabolic functions.
And I think people find that so frustrating because they go ahead and put effort where they were, which is again, new habits they're not used to doing. And so they're putting all this efforting in. And then, the results aren't as huge as they'd like because that deficiency is still imbalanced, right? So, yeah, what do we do about that? Because it is an issue, right?
Yeah. So what I have found after nearly 20 years working with individual clients and also in groups, and also just in my own experiment of my own body, what doesn't work is drastic, big ticket change. It just doesn't work. Dieting and diet mentality, it's basically doesn't work. I've never seen it work. Restriction and elimination just it doesn't, not what we want. We want to enjoy and have, these full experiences around our food. We have relationships with, grandma's apple pie or mom's recipe for, this certain kind of stew. Like we're so attached to patterns around eating that any kind of forced restriction or elimination, I think for the big picture does not work. In the short term, maybe you lose 5 pounds because you're on a crash diet, and not that everything's about weight loss, but the culture that we live in is very geared to that. To shift the mentality away from, thinking about food, like I was saying, as anything other than just information and fuel. And what does work, what has been very successful, and what I think people should consider is very small, incremental baby steps. I call it the crowding out theory, which is essentially you're adding in. You would start with a way of tracking. You would take some type of baseline. Okay, what does my typical day look like nutritionally? What do I eat? What does that contain in it? And from there, you start adding in small amounts of things that are going to fill out that spectrum of nutrition so that you're getting the fuel that your body really needs, especially for brain function. So when we talk about, high functioning, and that could look like just being able to manage an emotional situation that you're going through in your life, which is going to happen. It could look like running a business. Like I have a lot of CEO clients and people who have high functional roles in their life. But sometimes, a high level of functionality is my family is experiencing a sickness or a crisis health-wise, and we have to deal with lots of phone calls, and we're putting in all this energy to, resource to help this person in my family get through this thing that they're going through. That's exhausting.
Yeah, so people get sick.
High level of function is just to not have a breakdown someday, right?
Right.
And that's where we need to kind of take our own pulse on what is it that we have, what is it that we need. But I think to kind of get back to you said, what is it, what do we do? I think, first of all, just getting really honest and taking an honest snapshot about what role food plays in your life. Are you even thinking about it? If so, do you have a plan that you follow? Does that plan reflect what season you're at in your life? What your body needs? Like a woman in her late 40s has a very different nutritional need than, a teenage boy. We're not built the same. We have different needs. So I highly recommend kind of taking a look at the basic things that your body needs and then asking the question, am I getting that? Or if not, what would it look like to add some of those things in? And that's where I think it's just little small baby steps at a time. I call it Atomic Healthy Habits. Very much based on James Clear's Atomic Habits book, which is incredible. And it's just the idea that, you'll gain momentum as you take these baby steps and you do it with ease and you do it with joy, as opposed to some drastic new regimen that is going to be really hard for you to show up for day after day. And what happens is when you start adding in this information, let's say dark leafy greens, maybe it's something as simple as I'm adding a green smoothie to my day. And I'm starting with a really nutritionally balanced breakfast every day, meaning that you're starting with an equal amount of your macronutrients. So that would be roughly 100 grams in calories of carbohydrates, fat, and protein. When we start with like a really solid, balanced baseline, the brain is like, great, we're good. We have what we need to do basic function. Go ahead into the world and perform. Do what you have to do today. We're good. We have what we need. And the central nervous system and the enteric nervous system, these two amazing vast networks of cells and nerves, are constantly communicating all throughout the day. And when we don't have enough of what we need, when we're nutrient deficient or when we're hungry, we start to lose steam. And that's when it becomes even easier to reach for quick fix items that may not only not have what we need in them or enough of what we need, but they frequently contain things that we don't need, toxins that the body really cannot process. So now, not only do we not have enough of what we need, but the liver, which is responsible for filtering all toxins out of our body, is now working overtime to get that yellow dye number 2 out of the system, get that excess, hydrogenated oil, that excess sucrose, which is in almost every packaged product, like sugar, oil, and salt. Excess of those things is the American diet.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
I think we want to just take a look, an honest look at what our relationship is to food. No judgments, just what is it I'm doing? How am I doing? And do I have the information that I need to build what would look like a whole spectrum of nutrition? And so that every day I'm having at least the foundational nutritional needs are getting met within the scope of my possibility. And it does sometimes look like, adjusting your budget to include a little bit more extra cash flow for higher quality, fresh vegetables and fruit. Like sometimes that is a piece of this puzzle, because sometimes people just say to me, well, it's just also as expensive. To which, of course, I say, I can teach you how to eat the healthiest you'll ever eat in your life and cut hundreds of dollars out of your food budget. But that's a lifestyle change. But you can afford to eat healthier, just the way you can afford to get a Starbucks, latte.
Right.
So it's just about mindset shifting. And I think it's best done in tiny little baby
conditioning.
Yeah, because we have been so hardwired to think of food as like something we deserve, or I deserve that cookie, I deserve that cocktail. I had a hard day, and so I'm eating the chicken cordon bleu with the extra whatever. Like you can hear the wheels turning in the head. Like every single person I know, myself included, has. And I deserve to eat that thing that I know technically deep down inside is not great for me. But we justify it by saying, thinking about it. We justify it before we've ordered the food.
Totally.
So,
and one of the things you mentioned, I'm going to use my own words here, feeding the nervous system. And, so many of us overextending, overgiving, we're chronically stressed. And I think we just live in a world that supports at the highest level that you are chronically stressed, all of us, empath or not.
Yes.
And so for my sensitive types, I just mentioned this on another podcast the other day, but, we looked at they did a study on autoimmune disease, and that 80% of them were women, and then looked at those women more closely. And the majority of them were these sort of people-pleasing, overgiving, overextending types, right? And so when I think of food as medicine versus food and body shame, right? When I think of food as medicine, that's been for me in my own health journey. I have gut issues myself. It's, we all tend to have that one area in our body that is the place where we all tend to gather. So there's so many layers of looking at it, right? And
I would actually argue that it's all the gut for all of us.
Right. Well, that's true, right? The gut is like the central, computer, and then everything goes awry from there. But I definitely really started to shift, and it's been hard. And I see a lot of women desiring this shift, wanting to look at food without feeling shame, wanting to look at food without feeling, good or bad. Or, I think I even heard you once say, I can't get into that whole weight loss thing because it's so triggering. It's so triggering for all of us. There's almost trauma there. Yes. And so with our nervous system, a lot of us being in chronic stress, we look at that autonomic nervous system, we've got one that revs us up, the sympathetic, and then that parasympathetic that slows us down. And we can't get that parasympathetic to kick in and stay kicked in. And so we're in a constant state of this stress flooding our body, chemicals flooding our bodies. And I love the idea, and I'm really myself just really starting to try to open up to this even more. I don't even know what my blocks are. I have to look at that. But how food can be the key And as you say, the information our body needs. I love that. That food is the information our body needs to heal the issues, but also heal our nervous system.
Yes. So, first of all, they're inextricably linked. You're absolutely right. And it's missing from the dialogue. There's very few conversations happening about this. There's some really good podcasts actually. I can recommend them after if you'd like. But there are people talking about this. But basically, food is absolutely medicinal. If you think about, just take us on a journey back in time before, the modern day grocery store, before factories farming, before, mass producing food as a commodity, the way that hunters and gatherers and people, consumed food was only in one package, the natural package that it came in. There was no convenience at all involved. It was like you had to forage in the woods and find the berries and the fruits and hack them off the tree and remove the skins and find the medicine inside of it. But, we get so far removed from that when we're marketed to by these big companies that, they benefit from us staying sick and staying addicted to the foods that they package. So there's a lot of distraction away from the reality that food is medicinal and healing. But nature has provided an antidote to every single ailment that exists. I mean, if you think about even like the modern day pharmaceutical industry, it's based on herbs and nuts and roots that come from the earth. Natural, full molecule, living, fresh herbs and roots are the basis of every antibiotic, before there was chemical factories that could produce these things and make these fake foods and these fake drugs and fake sugar and all that stuff, before it was reproduced and you know, capitalized on, the root of that is that the earth produces a remedy for anything that ails us, and it comes in the form of food. So we can consume herbs that heal our gut. We can consume things that are anti-inflammatory. Just going to throw a few things out there right now for anyone listening. Highly anti-inflammatory is any food with a dark red or purple pigment: blueberries, strawberries, purple potatoes, purple cabbage, all the dark berries. They have a pigment called anthocyanin that gives them their dark color. That is one of the most highly anti-inflammatory substances that we can consume. Fresh blueberries every morning will change the way you feel. So simple. Turmeric with curcumin. It's the most highly anti-inflammatory food on the planet. So if you have an overactive digestive system, if you're having gut imbalances, a little bit of turmeric every single day. I think Dr. Greger, who created nutritionfacts.org, to recommend a quarter of a teaspoon every single day. And also ginger root. Fresh ginger root is one of the most highly anti-inflammatory foods. You can buy them in almost any grocery store. They're not that expensive. And if you just every single day added a little ginger, a little turmeric, and some blueberries to your life, in a couple of weeks, you'll be calling me to tell me that you absolutely feel like a different person. Just those things like that. So these little baby steps, we're not going to put you on medication, or you don't have to go drastically change your life, but, adding in dark leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables every single day and some anti-inflammatory foods will be sending a message to your cells. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to keep this thing in balance. This physical body that is the carriage of our soul, our brain, our heart, our attention. So if you are a person who's, naturally acclimated to be a giver, a healer, an empath, if you seal everything and you get depleted easily, like, a thing you could say to yourself would be, okay, body, I identify as a healer. I identify as an empath. I am hardwired to over deliver and over give. So to work with my body on that, I'm going to input lots and lots of healing and anti-inflammatory foods, because I'm going to accept that I am that. That's who I am. That's how I show up in this world. And so since I see that in myself and I'm feeling that, what resonates with me, that's who I am. You might not want to change that. You shouldn't change that. It's a beautiful gift. However, let's work with that and feed your body things that are going to keep you, alkaline and in balance and feeling like your tank is full. and start your day with that so that you're feeling like, okay, I'm going to navigate this day with ease because I'm starting with a physical body that is supported. And it's
Yeah.
just one piece. Nutrition is just one piece. Of course, sleep, hydration, mental health care, exercise, community, connection. They're the pillars of holistic health. But nutrition is a big one because we live in a body that is made of clay, where we are the nuts and bolts that we consume.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
big one.
So I believe, and I really feel this is very true. It's at the base of all illness in our body is emotion. And I know this sounds kind of weird if you're not really into this and you don't know a lot about it, but really emotion in your body requires water. It requires like to able to be moved to when I do energy healing, everybody's at the end is dehydrated and tired. And
Yeah.
I'm dehydrated and tired after energy healing. We need more water because water in our body moves energy. And
It
so
conducts electromagneticity in your brain.
exactly, yes, there's this electromagnetic, it's all about the electromagnetic field, individual fields for everything. So when we're looking at this nutrition piece and this, some people are like, well, Michelle, like if I just work on this emotional imbalance, then I should be good, right? Like I should just, if I heal myself emotionally, do all the hardcore emotional work, I can eat McDonald's every day and I should be fine, right? But no, right? It requires the nutrition to help with the entire thing is so holistic. It
Yeah. And I love
requires, yeah,
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I love this so much because as we're talking, I'm realizing like this is another way in which your expertise and what we're talking about here today go hand in hand. Because I love to say eat your water because fresh fruits and vegetables have so much
much
water.
water. Yeah.
You can eat like again going back to just I invite everyone listening to just think about the food and the nutrition that you're putting into your system every day, whatever you eat, every time you eat something, just for an experiment for a day, think of it as information for yourself and your brain. If you just do that for one 24-hour day, for every meal I eat, I'm going to consider it information I'm giving to my cells. It's going to make you think twice about that double-sized Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, oh, do I want to feed my cells this information or do I want to give it, a cucumber water with some lemon squeeze in there? It's like, it's not that hard of a choice when you think about it
Yes.
as I'm building my body with this.
Yes.
In your
Yes.
body carries your soul and your energetic fields. And so I agree with you about the root cause of illness being energetic and emotional. I do think that's accurate. And I think
But it
again,
is the food and nutrition that needs to support the body in all
it's
its
just a
energetic
tool.
processes of releasing that emotion, right?
It's
Like,
one of the easiest levers of health that we can control.
Mm.
Right. So there's a lot of factors around our health and our wellness that we cannot control. We don't get to choose when there's a global pandemic. We don't get to fix the weather and we don't choose where we were born, to whom, the climate, the food availability to us and all that. But as adults, as we start to learn and grow, we do get to choose what we put into our bodies. Every single time you feed yourself anything, you're either feeding disease or fighting it, right? That's just a fact. Like, that's not like a cute, thing that I came up with. Like, it's a fact. Your cells have integrity and they require information to maintain that integrity. And what you put into your body builds those cells. So every single time you eat or drink anything, you're either feeding the building of a healthy cell and integrity of that cell wall, which builds your organs, your tissues, and the entire existence that you carry around on your bones. Or you're fighting against it. You're either creating more friction or you're creating ease every time you eat or drink. So with whatever, when I'm working with clients on building a marketing funnel, for example, which is something that I do quite a lot of, believe it or not, we're talking nutrition this full call, but a large part of my work is working with, women business owners who want to have freedom in their life, who want to have a solopreneurship. They want an online marketing company so they can be with their kids when they get out of school. So they can be there for a sick parent when they need elder care. So they can have a life that's more like their life that they dream of and not so complicated and restricted. And, there's so many people out there too who have gifts that just don't align with the standard corporate reality that provides, stability. So today in 2024, you can make a very good living using the almost free tools of the internet. Yeah, we both do this. We both have podcasts and have businesses based on connection, community, authentic service, and solid offers. And so I work with a lot of women to build that. And it's so funny because I start with, okay, let's talk about what you eat. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Don't you
right.
see my tech platform?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want to find out what your breakfast was. Because I know that if they're practicing with basic self-care, one of the easiest things you can do is just eat a balanced couple of meals a day. It's not that hard. So if you do that piece and just check those boxes, kind of like I said, it's like a tool. It's setting you up for so much more functional energy and just vibrant energy with which to deal with the undoubted challenges of any given day living in this world. Like, yeah, challenges are going to be there. That's life. Yeah. The suffering is going to be there. That's life. To live and to love, there's going to be challenges and obstacles and suffering. And so when we're healthy and our bodies and our tissues are not suffering and we're not managing also or balancing, against a disease or an illness or a deficiency, it's a lot easier to show up, make the right choice, do the right thing, have a little bit greater joy in our life, a little bit greater ease. And for me, I think about this all the time. I'm like, God, the easiest thing we can do is just like make a smoothie in the morning that's got all the different nutrients in it and then go on with your day.
I have been drinking a smoothie every morning since 2014.
Amazing.
I got so sick of them for a while, so I would have to like try really hard to switch them up because I was, but I have because they, for me, are just a way that I start my day. And if I don't do it, I do feel different.
Yeah.
But that being said, I want to talk about, because I am also, and I know you are too, so passionate about helping women, helping people, right? To expand and to step into their power and create something beautiful that really is an expression of why they're here, aligning people with their purpose and moving into that space to create something. Because my audience, everybody who's listening right now, somewhere deep down inside, you're a helper, you're a healer, you're somebody who wants to make a difference, that coming here in this life means somehow having an impact. And while that can be someone working at the bank or at the grocery store, it's fine. But, healers are everywhere. But I love, and I know you also have a freebie on this. I love this idea of really utilizing nutrition to recognize there's a missing step for us because we are trying to step into our power, right? And I'm just going to say this. Some of us have a fear of success, right? It's not even a fear of failure. It is like the energy of success, of stepping up and into something that's big or bigger than where we've been at. And so I just want to appreciate, as you're talking about expanding and abundance and all these things, that this piece on nutrition is a missing key, because how do we step into our power if we are depleted and we are exhausted and sick? And so I know you have also a freebie on abundance and stuff. I wanted to make sure we talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I would just, something that you just said, it's funny because I'm recording an episode I have a podcast. It's called Girl Molds Fire. And it's basically about what you just described. It's like, all the tools and resources that I can share, whether they be in the health, wellness, nutrition realm, a lot of mindset, and also just, it's hugely about online business and sort of my storytelling around how I've overcome certain challenges and what I would do differently, things like that. And I just think there has never, ever been a time, not in my lifetime, certainly, but I would almost be willing to go out there and say, in the history of the world, there has never been a time when we more desperately needed healers to show up, come out of the woodwork, become visible, and fearlessly do their work
And lead.
We desperately need the healers. We are a suffering society in so many ways. In every little facet, we need our healers more than ever. We need our healing community. We need our yoga teachers. We need our wellness practitioners. We need our therapists. We need our nutrition coaches. We need people who exude love. We need our empaths. We need us. The world needs us. And so it's our obligation to support ourselves in showing up and becoming useful.
Amen. Yes.
It's It's an obligation. We have to, what else are we doing here?
Right. It's our time.
Yeah. What else is there? You can like glide down the stream and do nothing, or you can do a little bit of a harder thing, slightly harder thing, and show up and do what you know is your gift and help somebody else have a little bit less of a horrible day by shining your light a little bit brighter. It's not, I find it to be an obligation. When I have a hard day and I'm like, I don't feel like it, my sticky note that's on my computer says, who needs me to show up today?
Oh, I love that.
As an empath, I totally identify as an empath and somebody who is here to be in service. Sometimes it's hard. And there's days when I'm like, I need me to show up today. And that means I'm sitting in the bed.
Yes. Sometimes I do need to have a lot of boundaries. Yeah.
No, and that's self-care. Self-care is knowing when it's your turn to rest and replenish. And that is part of it. But on a daily basis, on an everyday basis, I do think finding balance in our work does include integrating healthcare and wellness care practices. And let me tell you too, somebody called it the sick care system in the US, and I totally am on board with that. Our healthcare system is very broken. So it's really important that we prevent illness. Like preventative healthcare is really important, especially for people on a solopreneur path who are going to have like built-in insurance plans and things like that. We want to do whatever we can to have healthy bodies and avoid the conflict in the first place. So so the freebie that you're talking about, I'll tell you, I call it my daily abundance planner, because I believe that the highest possible form of success is that we feel good. And it's so interesting because as a business coach and I've been an entrepreneur. I've been in business for myself for 20 years. All of everything I create, build, and all the money that I earn relies solely on what I've built and created. I haven't gotten a paycheck from somebody else in 20 years. And so this is really stalwart for me. It's about, routines and practices that are easy, simple, but move the needle a little bit every day. And one of those things is drinking enough water. One of those things is eating a balanced 3 meals a day. Sometimes it's 2, but making sure that I'm checking these nutrition boxes. Am I getting, enough healthy fat, like the basic macronutrients, micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals? I'm checking that every day. It's not that hard when you get into the routine, and you can just use an online app that checks it for you. It's not like that crazy to add it into your routine. So I designed a planner for my clients, and I have a copy to share with anybody that's interested. I call it a daily abundance planner, and it's just a simple 1-page daily planner. I actually have a copy of it right here. I'm showing you this. So it's so simple. It's 1 page. I print it. You can see I'm using it. I use it every day. I use it myself. I like writing in my journal and stuff. I mean, I have all the apps and all my tools, but I love to just get my pen out in the morning and do, okay, what does today really look like?
Yeah. My brain needs a pen and paper. Yeah.
It includes a checkbox for glasses of water. It includes a little spot where you're going to jot down what you're eating that day so you can get out in front of it, because a big problem with healthy nutrition is not planning. So when we don't plan, then we finally, noon rolls around and we realize we haven't had any food yet today. You're already deficient, and it's only noon. Yeah. Because your brain needs nutrients to function, and it needs water. So it's like, if those are on your morning checklist, and it includes things like gratitude, because I do believe that when we function from a place of, recognizing that which we already have, and just gratitude is first thing in the morning, and setting an intention. How do I want to feel today? So there's things that don't go on your typical day planner. And then also your typical day planner. What do I actually have to do today to move that needle forward and be of service? What appointments do I have? How much money did I bring in today? How much money did I spend today? Like, that's part of being in balance in your life. Because we do live in a capitalist society that demands that we pay the rent and pay the bills every month. So we can't lose track of, the way that form of energy also interacts in our life. And it's just, we are more abundant when we have balance in all of these areas. So it's like the holistic day planner. And I find that when we're checking those boxes and we keep it really simple, I've set my intention for the day. I'm really grateful for these things. I'm tracking my water. I'm tracking my feed. I've got these 10 appointments, and I'm grateful to be doing those things. At the end of the day, I spent a bunch of money. I also made some money. Just knowing those things we can go to bed at the end of the day and you're like, great, okay, where did I do good today? And there's a section on that planner that includes, kind of like notes for the end of the day, like what didn't I get to? And part of the reason for that is that there's a never, especially as a solopreneur and entrepreneur, there's a never ending to-do list. Yeah. And when we go to bed at the end of night and we still have things on our mind that we didn't quite complete, that can be very stressful inducing. So in order to have a good night's sleep, which is critical for replenishing all of the bodily functions and getting up the next day with some energy to get a good night's sleep, we really need that. It helps a lot to write down at the end of the day, okay, I'm done working. I still need to do these 5 things. I wrote them down so I don't have to be thinking about them anymore, and then close the books for the day and move on to the next day. And so it's just a simple tool. It's a daily abundance planner. It's got some other things included in the PDF guide. I included, some really 15 morning habits that I find to be just really set me up to have an amazing day.
I love it.
And I would love to share that with anybody who might benefit from it.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we have that link in the show notes. Is there anything else you want to share in order for people to work with you or learn more about you? I will have your website in the show notes so everybody can look there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate it. I have a website. It's my name, DeborahCsmith.com. And it's a combination of information about me, my background, and offers, different business offers and things like that. But I do have a podcast that's a weekly episodic podcast, Girl Makes Fire. And if anyone out there is building a small business and is interested in having, I call them breakthrough sessions, but having a quick chat, I love to do these 15 to 20 minute free consultation / breakthrough sessions where we just wrap. What are you working on? What are you stuck on? Where do you see next steps? And, I provide a handful of different programs and support systems in terms of what I do professionally. But I always think it's just about having a conversation. I think pairing up and working together with people to build something successful in their life, that's always about authentic connection. So a way to connect to me is that free consultation.
I love it. That is such a gem of an offer. So take her up on it, people, because I really do believe that you are just going to be a force in helping people grow and helping people be healthy and helping people grow and expand and really step into their lives. So thank you so much, Deborah. It's so wonderful to talk with you today. And thank you for sharing yourself.
Thanks for all the work that you do as well. I love your podcast. It's really helpful.
Thank you so much. All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Have a nice day.
Thank you for listening to Into the Work Therapy for Empaths and Seekers. Don't forget to grab your free gift, your Shadow Work Transformation Bundle at michellepoverman.com. I've included everything you need to get started to break through the patterns of self-sabotage and finally start to heal the parts of yourself that are getting in the way of truly reaching your potential. From a powerful meditation designed to help you meet and embrace your shadow self, to the guide that's full of curated prompts and important questions to support you on this journey. This really can be the work for you to unmask the root cause of all the issues you've been experiencing, honestly, and start to feel free to believe in yourself and go for what you want. The link for this free bundle is in the show notes. And if you like this episode, I would be so grateful if you could take a moment and rate, click and follow, and leave a review. Of course, you can always follow me on socials at Michelle Poverman. And keep in mind, as you embark on your journey from spark to brilliance, remember, the universe is always conspiring in favor of your awakening. Everything that's happening is in support of you lighting your own fire within. So until we meet again, may your path be well lit and your heart be guided. Shine bright, seekers. Until next time.